Atma Namaskaram. Siddha Vedam, the Moksha Sutram in English, Chapter 11.
Swamiji, it has been clear from what is said in the previous chapter and before that Deham is Vayu and the body we see is not the Deham. But it is said in the world that there are three kinds of Deha, namely Sthulam, Sukshmam and Karanam. If what is meant by Deham is as what Swamiji said, then these are different kinds of Deha also must be explained.
What have you understood by Stula, Sukshma, and Karanadeha?
I have understood Sthula Deha as the gross material body of us, Karana as the Avidya or science known as the Sushupti, where nothing is felt, and Sukshmam as the mind.
These are all very wrong because they cannot be three Deha as you said. But what is said as Thulam, Sukshmam, and Karanam are the Jiva, the mind being the Sakti, which is the vibration of that Jiva, and the Ahamkara, which is the Maya, originated from the mind, the Sakti. This body we see can never be called Stula Deham. You yourself say that Sukshma Deham is the mind and that this mind is in this body which is considered as Stula Deham. Sthulam literally means colossal and Sukshmam means infinitely small. It is from this infinitely small mind that this world originated, and this world exists in that mind itself. That is the reason why it is said that the world is a creation of the mind. Thus, we see that this world has originated from this infinitely small mind and subsides in the mind itself. This Jadam also has originated from the mind. If there is no mind, there is no Jadam. So, the Jadam is created by the mind, which is Sukshamam. Not only that, when a person dies, we see the dead body. The dead body has no mind, and so it has no world. Its limbs are there as before. It is said that no long as there is Thulam, there is the Sukshamam, and when the Sthulam perishes, the Sukshamam does not perish. If this body is really the Sthulam, even after the Sukshamam perished, this Jadam, which is the Sthulam, is found non perished. So, you can never call this body as the Sthulam. When we say a person is dead, it is this Jiva, which is the self, that has gone out. So, Jiva is the Stula Deham. It is in this Jiva, the Stula Deham, that the mind, which is the Sukshama Deham, resides. You yourself say that it is to the Nisant Sushupti, which is the Avidya, that is told as Karana Deham. That is, when Jiva vibrates out as Sakti, there originates the Ahamkara out of this Sakti, and that Ahamkara is called as Maya. This Maya is described in chapter 7 as the nascent Supti. But the reason to say this body as Sthulam is because of not knowing the Jiva, which is the Sthulam. It is like this. If some starch is plastered on both sides of a cloth and dried up, anyone other than the plaster will not recognize it as cloth, but will say that it is some substance plastered with some starch and dried up. On such a substance plastered with starch, one picture equalizing the world is drawn. That is, one picture which includes sky, earth, ocean, the so called human beings, animals, birds, reptiles, and what or all we are saying is drawn. But in creation, one thing which is not in practice to what we say as animals, birds, reptiles, etc., is in practice for us, the so called human beings, that is, clothing. The figure which is considered as human being is also drawn on that substance plastered and dried up. One cloth must be dressed to that figure, since that human figure is drawn upon the plastered and dried up cloth that cannot be dressed with cloth. So, with the dye having the color of cloth, that figure is painted as if it is cloth, and that painting is considered as cloth. But really, it is not cloth. It is the color just drawn like the cloth. The real cloth is not found. When the real cloth is found, none of the above said things will be on it. To find the real cloth, the starch plastered on it must be removed. If the starch is removed, none of the things drawn on it will be seen. Without seeing such real cloth, that painted in the shape of cloth is considered as cloth. There is no connection between the pictures drawn in this manner and the real cloth. It is because the starch is plastered on this cloth that the above said pictures are drawn on it. Hence, the effort to remove that starch must be taken up. That is like this. If the cloth plastered with starch is put in water, soaked and rinsed, the starch in that cloth will be removed and the real cloth will be seen. Any of the pictures drawn on that will not be seen then. In this, the cloth is Thulam, the starch plastered on that is Karanam, and the pictures drawn on that is Sukshamam. Likewise, the Jiva, the self, is the Sthulam, which is the cloth. The Ahamkara, which is the Maya, then assigned Sushupti, which originated from the vibration of Jiva, is the Karanam, which is the starch plastered on that cloth, and the mind originated out of the vibration of Jiva. The self is Sukshamam, which is the pictures drawn on the starch of Karanam. So, without knowing such real cloth as above said, the one which is drawn in the shape of cloth has been considered as cloth. In the same manner itself, this body, the Ahamkara, being made with Maya, is considered as Thulam. Whenever the Sthulam, which is the real Jiva of ours, is realized, then there is nothing else. That is like this. When the real cloth is found, there is nothing different. That which is different cannot be called as Sthulam. Sthulam is the Jiva, which is the self. Karanam is Ahamkara, the Maya, which is the Sushupti, originated out of the Sakti, the vibration of the Jiva, and Sukshamam is the mind, which is the vibrating Sakti of Jiva. It is for these things that it is said as Sthulam, Karanam, and Sukshamam. Besides, now we are in Sushupti, the Karanam. Thus, since we are in Sushupti, all that appears that we are experiencing are all dreams. It has been told in detail in chapter 7. It is on account of being in such dreams that the notions of Sthulam, Karanam, and Sukshmam have occurred. As above said, since we are in Sushupti, all states are nothing but what appears as dream, and there is no such thing at all. Thank you. Atma Namaskaram. End of chapter 11. For those who are willing to get initiation of Siddha Vidya, please contact our Chennai Siddha Vidya Nilayam Trust Head Office at Tamil Nadu, India. The address details are Chennai Siddha Vidya Nilayam Trust, 69 Sivaprakasam Road, Sivananthapuram, Vadamadurai via Periyapalayam. Postcode 601102. Contact phone number +91 9790 600015. Atma Namaskaram.